So now, Chris, we got rid of the restriction on this. We have improved it from 320 to 395. That's about 23% increase.
Okay.
So now, Chris, do your magic. What did you do up here? Tell us all about your part. Tell us what you got and everything else.
So we designed a Scorcher Plus device here, and what it does is it plugs into a couple spots on the engine, and our goal here was to get it more fuel, get it more air, and get that throttle snappy and that drivability back the way that you like it. So one of our biggest challenge is to be able to add that fuel without getting it too rich and throwing any type of engine code. And also we wanted to make sure we had enough air in there so that when you did give it that fuel, that it responded correctly. So a lot of the things we looked at were controlling the fuel pressure so we could get more power under different loads of the engine. So we dove into that curve and really dialed that in. We also dive into controlling the variable vanes on the turbo. So under lighter loads, we're actually closing the turbo up, trying to give it a little bit more boost, a little bit more air so it's ready for us. So when you get on it, you have that air and then that fuel gets there, you're good. And then at wide open throttle, we definitely are trying to unrestrict it too. Since we got the air intake opened up, now we're gonna open up the exhaust. So we open those vanes up a little bit more at wide open throttle, allow that engine to breathe. The Scorcher Plus, we also tie into the throttle pedal to the load of the engine so that when you get on it, you actually feel that snappy power mixed with the fuel and the air, and it becomes a great driving. I know you've driven this truck a lot and you really liked the response that we did when we got this package put on there.
So when we put 37s on, this became a dog. It was very lethargic. I lost mileage. I lost drivability. It was no longer fun. So after adding this, the intake helped quite a bit, but really this was a game changer for me. Because Not only gave me the horsepower on the low end, but also what it did, it gave it a lot more pep that I felt. A lot more pep, what does that mean? It means the throttle or the input gas pedal or diesel pedal sensitivity, and also how quickly it responded. So it almost responded like a gas engine. This is how responsive it became.
The first two plugs on here are plug into the boost sensor and the fuel pressure sensor, and that's where we can add that extra air. We can control the turbo and we can add that fuel with the fuel pressure. We also tie into the throttle pedal. This is actually under the dash at your pedal, and this is where we sync the two together so that you can actually feel that snappy response mixed with the power. And we also have your LED switch here with the different settings. And so in the race mode, you're gonna have our full throttle tune mixed in with all the air and fuel that we've tuned in to get the horsepower that we gained.
So let's go to the dyno here. It produces 33 horsepower, 77 pound of torque. Torque is everything. So horsepower is calculated as torque times RPM divided by 52. Look at the entry at the torque, where the torque peaks versus the stock one. This is the fat area. Chris,
yes.
you talk about that all the time.
Yeah, so a lot of what we try to do is we're trying to add the power down low. We want to give you that throttle response right off when you acceleration. You want to see that snappy throttle. It's what people feel every day. A lot of people aren't running at 4,000 RPMs in a diesel truck. Yep. They want to feel that quick acceleration. So if you look across our dyno curves, we make great power early and throughout the entire power band, but at the beginnings where we really see the biggest increases of power and torque. So this is what people feel is what they like. This also helps with added savings and fuel savings and that drivability that everybody craves.
So the point I'm trying to make here, the Scorcher Plus package is a unique package because not only it tunes it, but actually unlocks the requirement for the air. And that's a big deal. You were telling me that you're doing something with the turbo. What were you telling me about the turbo?
So on the turbo, essentially since now we're getting more air in, we're actually opening the vanes on the turbo to allow more air out of the exhaust.
Variable geometry?
Yes, on the variable geometry turbo, we're just opening those vanes up, those nozzles up so that we can get more air out to match that extra air coming in.
What does that do?
That really reduces the restrictions on the engine, which then just gives you more efficiency and more horsepower and better drivability.
So does it give me a quicker spool up at the beginning?
It doesn't help on the quicker spool up in the beginning, but in our tune, we actually, during acceleration times, we're actually closing those nozzles up so that we can give that quick, snappy response that people want, and also that helps burn up that extra fuel so you don't smoke or sit up your exhaust.
Right, so I think to close it, to get more horsepower, you need more torque. To get more torque on the diesels, you add the fuel. Add the fuel, you need more air. You cannot have more horsepower without more air. So upgrade your intake, then you can tune it whatever you want. And we going back here, here's a final tally. So we got 248, 447, as close as we can. We actually produced more torque than a stock engine. Horsepower, we still fall 12 horsepower short. In my personal thing, my mileage has improved. Our mileage has improved on this truck. 30 horsepower, 59 feet of torque, airflow increased by 75 CFM. So overall, I think it's been a big win-win on this. And do you want to add anything at the closing?
I think the big thing is, you know, the air filter and the module, it just makes the Jeep fun to drive again. It gives you that snappy response and everybody enjoys it. Like he says, it drives more like a gas vehicle now instead of a laggy diesel. And I think that's the biggest thing. When you put the bigger tires on here, you need a little bit more power to make them fun to drive. Yeah,
and that's why it's called Scorcher Plus, because it's just not adding just fuel or anything else. Is a holistic approach to power producing. It means we're going to address the mechanical limitation, we're going to address the tuning, and at the end, you're going to have a truck who has a better, cleaner, more power, again, more fun to drive. That was the key. Justin, do you want to add anything to it? You good? Yeah. All right. Thank you. See you next time.